Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show, Thursday, April 2nd. Very key date, not April 1st. We'll get to that in just a minute. I'm Patrick Daugherty, joined by Kyle Dvorchak, joined by Pat Kerrane, who you may know, and you also may know is not Denny Carter. Denny is driving to meet Kyle in Florida right now. They're going to get together at the beach, have a bonfire on the beach. No, Denny, quote unquote, asked for the day off. I said no. And then he said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So we're trying to figure that out behind the scenes, what to do. But Pat's here. Pat, of course, synonymous with best ball. We're going to talk some early best ball narratives, but also just a lot of offseason news and how it dovetails into best ball. We're going to ask Pat his favorite new home for a free agent wideout, a free agent running back. We're going to ask him about the loaded wide receiver class coming into this month's draft. If he has a favorite prospect who might not go in the first round. I'll ask him about running back prospects as well, how he's approaching them in his offseason best ball drafts. We'll talk about Fernando Mendoza, who now is a quarterback caddy, reportedly, and Kirk Cousins. We'll talk maybe if he's willing to reveal some legendary running back candidates for this upcoming year. He identifies legendary running backs, as you may know from his website name, Legendary Upside Leg Up. And two, he's going to ask me maybe about my upcoming coach rankings, which come out next week. I'm aiming for Tuesday, unless writer things happen there. But
Pat, they never do, though. You're pretty much no.
Yeah,
time you put it out. Then
I've never once pushed back a writing deadline. It's just not something.
Writing is easy and on time.
Yeah. Writers are very famous for always just getting in right on time. Even the really responsible writers are always late.
Yeah.
Anyways, how you doing, Patrick?
Doing good. Yeah.
Excited
to talk some football here.
Excited to talk. April Fool's tough day for a lot of people. I will admit it was tough for me. I'm going to segue this into someone else it was tough for, but so I'm taking my kids to school right now. I'm not much of a morning person, all right? We had another child, as you may have heard, though, so I got to take the kids.
I did hear.
I got to take the kids.
Are you okay?
No. No, help. No, we're doing very well. But April Fool's morning, my daughter came up to me and said, Dad, I'm not feeling well. And my first thought is it's above my pay grade. We got to ask mama, if I can send you to school or not. This is not a dad decision. And then she hit me with April Fools. But I couldn't tell that she said April Fools. I thought it was just a standard joke. And I was really mad. I said, don't ever do that again. And then I realized that she said April Fools. I was like, wow, I hit a kid with a don't ever do that again on an April Fool's joke. I'm sure that's not at all traumatizing or scarring.
Well, when she grows up and let's just say heads social media for a large company, she probably won't pretend to shut down part of it.
So yeah, Pat, what did you think when you saw the tweet? This ostensible joke, quote unquote.
Listen, to be completely honest, not a single part of me thought it was real. I
saw it and I was like,
I wasn't at all worried.
Yeah, I know.
For the listeners, Underdog Best Ball's official Twitter had a long post. You didn't just read it in one breath and then got to the bottom and said April.
Well, that's the problem. It was so long that if you texted it to someone, the April Fool's part didn't show up. So that's how I first saw it. Someone texted it to me, and I just read the first.
They were shuttering the product. That it was all over. That it all been canceled.
Right.
Yeah. That's what killed them. Is that an April Fool's joke needs to be short and to the point. And or at least
it should be fun, you know, we're happy to introduce our new best ball product on, some best ball curling or something.
Best ball Pokemon.
Best ball Pokemon. Yeah, something that's sort of what? Oh, April Fool. Okay, yeah. I can move on with my day. I'm not angry.
Yeah.
I didn't get stressed.
I might be baffled or befuddled, but I'm not already sweating.
I'm not
your
sweating.
little health wristband, whatever you choose, if it's the Apple Watch or whatever, shouldn't see the April Fool's tweet and weeks back. You're like, what happened on April 1st at 2 p.m.?
I know. So
also the timing of it, is just
layoffs in the industry.
Yeah.
Not exactly the most. And so your April Fool's joke.
Sherman, because he did step up and take the blame.
He did.
You hate to see someone who's had so much success put out a really good tweet, but it was a good tweet.
April Fool's joke, new rule though, needs to fit in the text preview. If you're sending it to someone or something, it can't be,
that's right.
You shouldn't have to click. If you have to click to expand, the joke's automatically not funny at all. And that was just not sure what the very first thought too. I wish I were kidding, but because I didn't click to expand immediately because you see it and you're like staggered. I was like, oh my God, what is Kerrane gonna do? His whole life is tied up in this garbage. He'd be a broken man without this.
I'll be all right. Come on.
Anyways, they are not shuttering their best ball product. Not funny. Fit it in the text preview next year. But everything good other than the April Fool's jokes. Have you guys? When was the last time you even attempted an April Fool's joke?
I don't do them. I don't do them.
Me neither. Not a big
They're
April
pranks,
Fool's
first of all, right? They're not really even jokes. They're sort of like, I'm going to lie to you, pretend I'm not
pranks.
lying.
You know the show Impractical Jokers where they just make people feel uncomfortable in public all the time?
Where they're all named Sal. All 4 Impractical Jokers are named Sal.
I hate that show. I hate the idea of pranks. I hate prank YouTube channels. We got to start the podcast because I have 30 minutes of I hate pranks anger built up.
I think you have to be younger, right? Like you
got to be younger.
I have a child. Like who am I pranking? A baby? My wife? These are bad ideas.
Yeah, no. My daughter too. Yeah, she apparently did a prank at school on her teacher. My daughter's a good student.
That's
and then she
dangerous.
said like she didn't do something, and then she's like, well, she was starting to get kind of mad. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
would not have done that. Tell you what, I would not have done. Assigned player X, player Y, player Z. Everyone did horrible in free agency. No, they mostly did fine. We've talked about it a lot. But we always love Pat Kerrane's perspective on this kind of thing. He thinks about the game extremely deeply. So we'll begin our conversation today. Do you have a favorite new home for any player in free agency? I was going to say wide receiver. I have no idea why. Any player in free agency. It was kind of a lower wattage class than usual this year. There's never a ton of big names. There were very few big names this year, though, Pat. Do you have a favorite new free agency fit for someone who changed teams this offseason?
The biggest jump we've seen really has been in terms of like, the cost of the draft capital would be Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. I think he's risen up the most, getting into the second round now. And obviously I like that fit, but the one that I think is like a little bit more under the radar, although still fairly high profile, is Mike Evans to the 49ers, which I think is really fun. I mean, I thought he still had plenty left last year, and he goes to a situation where like, this is what, kind of the Devontae Adams move of like, you maybe lost like a step, but you're still good. And then just like go to McVay or Shanahan and they'll kind of like squeeze the rest of the toothpaste out of the tube.
Yes.
Like they're the guys who like, if you go to the Jets, like you could have a quarter bottom.
I mean, the Titans have been the graveyard for this kind of wide receiver for years.
The Ravens, the toothpaste, someone else has already squeezed the rest of the toothpaste.
The Ravens, they're at least trying to do it to win. If it's the Jets, it's kind of like the old trope of like he's going home to die. Like he's going back to his hometown. He's lived in London for the past 60 years, but he must go back to the north.
We're sending so-and-so to a farm upstate in, what is it, East Rutherford? Is that where the Jets are?
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, I think Evans to the 49ers is a really fun one. And, it would be really fun to see him finish out his career very productively and, maybe a little creatively where he's going to be playing a lot on the outside, but maybe they've got some cool stuff to get him the ball over the middle and stuff like that. So that one's just one I'm excited to watch play out next year.
Did you find the salary bearish there at all? I find it a little bearish, to be honest. $15 million, in case you forgot, 1 year, $15 million. By no means, is he going to be in the poorhouse making $15 million? But I frankly expected him to make more than $20 million. But maybe is it just him taking less for a situation like you pointed out? Like, I already made a lot of money. I've already won a Super Bowl, but I really like to win. I know this guy, Kyle Shanahan, can juice my stats. Do you think maybe it was just like kind of a trade-off in his part? And the 49ers, have a lot of financial outlays, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of guys they need to pay in the near future, I think, too. I thought the salary was it was $15 million a year, right, Kyle? You're saying it was 3 years. I believe it was
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, but it was about $15 million. I think
I found it a bit bearish.
Actually,
I'll just say the money I found
amount.
Bearish.
Yeah, he can jump a pretty good amount in incentives. But to your point, I do agree. I don't know if it was bearish in the sense of I bet Mike Evans did have, I would not be surprised at least if he did have the choice of going to play for a team like the Titans for $20 million a year for 3 years and get $60 million clean and maybe more in incentives, or to take a little bit less, maybe make it up in incentives and play for a team that doesn't let his career die on the vine like it probably would have with the Titans or the Jets.
Okay.
So I hope that's the case. I do agree that he's being paid, I think, less than his services are worth. Like, I think I pointed out when he signed, he's making less than at this point, it's making less than 3 Seattle wide receivers. At the time, he was making less than 2 Seattle wide receivers, neither of whom are JSN. Now that JSN's extended, he's making less than all 3 of Seattle's starting wide receivers before his incentives kick in. So I do agree that, like, he's not being paid what I would call a market rate. I hope that was somewhat of his decision. But Pat, like, because I agree. I think he's just a great value for the 49ers. But as Daugherty points out, maybe that just means people didn't think he was worth that much.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 33-year-old receiver. He's coming off of an injury-riddled year, breaks the streak of the 1,000 yards.
By the way, if he gets 900 yards in this upcoming week 19, he's actually going to get to 1,000 this season still. I think it's going to happen. So,
I think he can do it.
Yeah, don't rule it out.
If he got this deal from the Titans, it would be like, oh no, like, you know,
true game over. Yeah,
true. Like, clearly the league thinks this guy is done. I think it's a little different that he took it from the 49ers. And then also, like, to me, the money stuff, it's helpful, but it's not like the point, you know. What's going to matter is like how much Mike Evans has left in the tank and how much this offense is built with him in mind. And it's kind of a good situation from, you know, a target.
Yeah, Pat, isn't it an amazing situation? Like, if he plays all 17 games, like, could he be like a wide receiver 1? Like, is it that
Christian
good of a
Kirk
situation?
is slotted in for a legit role here. Like, Ricky Pearsall didn't really do what we were hoping last year. I mean, he's like a starter level player, but I don't think he's anyone you have to worry too much about as far as like dominating targets or whatever, right? Like, Evans will be able to get his, and potentially Evans will be able to be like the true number 1 in this offense. There's upside for that with Kittle, you know, maybe not being the same off an Achilles tear. Hopefully he'll be kind of hitting his stride down the stretch, but there's some upside here for Evans to really see a nice target share. And even if he sees like a solid but not spectacular target share, this is an offense that's very efficient, well designed, and, you know, we'll put up a bunch of points. And I'm a Brock Purdy believer. I think he can really play. So, you know, the fact that he's like, Purdy's been productive with Jawan Jennings and
Kerrane
Pearsall as his top guys. Like, if Evans has something left, this could be nice. What am I admitting?
It's always a sad day when someone has to admit that Purdy's good.
Purdy's good, man. I admitted this
I know
2 years ago.
He's good. I've had to admit it to myself. He's good. And the 49ers and Evans, I'll say, they were a team. I didn't realize how badly they needed anyone really, but Mike Evans until they signed him. It was that kind of signing. Like, wow, I had not thought about like how barren it really was in the 49ers skill core until they signed Mike Evans, until they highlighted it by adding someone. I was like, wow, yeah, they were very right to do that. Like, they really needed to do that. And just a strange, messed up situation there that's hopefully a lot better now with Mike Evans. You mentioned Kenneth Walker, by the way. Kyle's been trying to hit Denny and I with all kinds of facts and logic on the Chiefs backfield, where we like the Amari DiMercato signing. And I was maybe getting a little ahead of myself and even mentioning the Jerick McKinnon role.
We've done Amari DiMercato discourse
hold on, just
every week.
I was maybe mentioning the Jerick McKinnon role, kind of forgetting, he doesn't even really catch passes, Amari DiMercato. Or he's caught some, but it's not like his primary thing. Do you like the DiMercato? Do you think it's a legitimate pairing, or do you think DiMercato is like just a pure depth add? Do you think he's being paired with Kenneth Walker, or do you think he's just a guy who's on the roster, Pat?
Are we sure he's on the roster?
It's all right.
Dude, this is a UDFA who's a pass catching specialist who doesn't catch passes, who's on a vet minimum deal, and the other calling card is explosive runs. His most famous explosive run is the worst explosive run we've ever seen. He got the ball.
They fixed it with AI. He actually crossed the goal line.
Oh, okay. All right,
I saw a video the other day.
He signed 1 year, $1.25 million. He has 550,000 guaranteed. He's
making the team. No, that's enough of a guarantee where they at least want him to make the team. It won't prevent him from being cut if he has a bad camp.
It won't.
That guarantee, although small, is a sign like they want you to make the team because they're not in the business.
Reminds me like the Eli Mitchell signing from last year.
You sign a guy and you say, "I hope you are not making."
Well, I'll just say the expectation is when you guarantee someone $500,000 even is that they're going to make the team. It allows you to move on if like, well, never mind, this isn't going to work. But that even that small guarantee is a sign they're expecting him to make the team, I would say.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, they could still draft somebody. Brashard Smith's on a cost control deal. He'll probably make the team. So
okay, we have the best ball guy on, and we're 16 minutes into the show, and we were mentioning Brashard Smith.
Well, I mean, you brought up a Martin.
You can see how this looks, right?
I don't know why. I thought we were talking about the back end of the Chiefs roster. I'm not allowed to mention Brashard Smith.
I'm sorry. No, you're very much.
I mean,
you'd be remiss not to. You actually had no choice. I do.
I had no. You gave me no choice. Elijah Mitchell signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Chiefs last year with $1.35 million guaranteed, and then proceeded to matter not at all.
He was on the team, right? That's all.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like the Jerick McKinnon role. First of all, that role is getting like harder and harder to find, right? Like there used to be, whereas like, these guys were fairly common. There were, like 3 or 4 of them going at a time.
And our James Whites, our Chris Thompsons, a few of those type of players every year.
You're right that it's vanishing. That's kind of
JJ talked about this in his write up, and then I did when I wrote up my running backs, I went and I did like a little screener and looked at running backs who I think it was I wrote up for Desmond Reed because I was excited about him. And I was like looking at this kind of role, and it really has dried up. I said since 2010 we've seen some fun seasons. There's been 34 seasons since 2010 when a running back caught 50 plus receptions while recording fewer than 100 carries. Darren Sproles, James White had two each of 200 plus PPR seasons. Danny Woodhead, Tariq Cohen, Duke Johnson also hit 200 plus.
Theoretically.
But in 2020, Nyheim Hines and J.D. McKissick hit 193 and 191 points respectively. And then in 2021, 0 running backs hit 50 plus receptions with fewer than 100 carries. In 2022, Jerick McKinnon hit 196 PPR points. In 2023, Samaje Perine did. He only hit 121 PPR points, and we haven't seen it since. Wow. So that role is just the way these, and I mean with the heavy personnel and like kind of like trying to force teams to like respect the run, and then you pass out of those sets. Like it's not really fitting with the meta. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe in 5 years they'll be trying to like just have really fast guys, like 6 really fast guys on the field again, and you're throwing to the running back all the time. I don't know, but this year I don't expect it to be like a huge part of a lot of teams' game plans. The Chiefs are one of the better bets to have a back like that, but they haven't had a back like that since McKinnon. The role that we're talking about is a 2022 role, really, and I think in part it was because Jerick McKinnon was really good at it.
Yes. I do think DeMarcado, despite him not being necessarily on paper a perfect fit for that role, is their most credible attempt at filling that role in a while. Brashard Smith was exciting, but as we know, very limited draft capital, kind of a long shot. I guess we're not terribly surprised it didn't work, even though the upside was immense. I just think DeMarcado is a more legitimate attempt at this than maybe Kyle was acknowledging. But also Kyle is very correct that it could be totally wasted air.
If in training camp, they're like, I'm shocked by how much work with the ones Amari DeMarcado's getting. I'll like be like, okay, I guess this is a thing. But I think you want something like that, especially in best ball, where like there's a very good chance that like in December, you're gonna pull up best ball rosters and spit out your coffee and be like, Amari DeMarcado. What?
That guy's been a healthy scratch for 5 weeks. This team made the playoffs with that?
The guy on the Saints practice squad? What was I doing?
That's cool.
I actually didn't read my own show sheet. I said your favorite new home for a free agent receiver. I didn't know I busted up by positions. Did you have anyone else that we did not get to? Or do you have a least favorite fit for someone who's landed somewhere? It's like, oh my God, I wanted to be excited about this guy, but he landed in the worst possible spot. Anything come to mind there?
I mean, I'm very sad that Breece Hall has yet to escape the Jets at running back.
Truly awful. Truly
awful stuff. Rashid Shaheed, I was hoping would go to the Raiders. I thought that would be fun. Him going back to Seattle is not. I didn't enjoy that very much.
No, we were baffled by that too.
Yeah. And then they also talked about it because I listened to the pod. You're like, yeah, they probably have a plan, but they were like, man, we can't get over how big of a contribution Rashid Shaheed made to this team after we traded for him. This is what he did last year and last year alone. is worth every penny of what we just paid him. I'm like, no, at least use him more if you're going to sign him.
No, they have to use him more, right? I mean, truly, they have to. Do they actually not have to?
I don't think they have to.
$51 million for a guy who's
to me, the weirdest thing is that the whole impetus of trading for him, maybe not the whole impetus, he's like a good player, but the whole impetus for trading for him was that Clint Kubiak got the most out of him very briefly with his time with the Saints. And now that guy, the guy who was supposed to be the Rashid Shaheed whisperer, is gone. So I think he's a very good player. I don't think this is a situation where he's going to thrive.
He's a good
and
player.
Weirdly, he's limited. He does certain things really well and has no ability to do other things. And also he's a better
That was like player. Strike the very.
Strike the very. I just edited you. No, not a lot of podcast editing, but I just did it.
Strike the very.
He's also though he's a really good special teamer. He is probably the best return man, punt and kick in the NFL. Fantasy, it doesn't really mean anything to us. So there are reasons they kept him around. I don't know if they're worth the money. And even if they are, they might close that gap for reasons that have nothing to do with fantasy.
It could also be the Seahawks. Yeah. Maybe this public perception hasn't caught up with this, how important returners are again, since they finally have found some sort of kickoff rules they're going to stick with that actually did promote kick returns and lead to a drastic increase in kick returns. And maybe we haven't adjusted for that yet. That just seems unlikely. And I don't know why, too. Sam Darnold, who likes to throw deep, can throw the deep ball. How this did not happen. It stands to reason he's going to be used more deep. But I guess we'll move on from the free agent fits. We're going to move on to the rest of the show when we come right back after this. This weekend on NBC and Peacock, a star-studded PGA Tour field hits the links at the Valero Texas Open. Catch the action from TPC San Antonio at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, followed by the final round at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. You catching Denny's actually at the Valero Open. That's where he went. I'm assuming. He claimed he was going to Harper's Ferry, but he was actually driving all the way to San Antonio from Maryland. This joke didn't go anywhere. I'm just going to move on. just going to absolutely move on.
It just seems plausible. I was like,
it was too real. Yeah. It was like the underdog post. It was too real.
It was too real. April Fools.
Like, Pat, we got to click to expand on your joke. That means it's not funny. You click to expand to see the punchline that is not even there. Pat, I know you do a lot of work on the rookies. A lot of great stuff always every offseason on Legendary Upside on the incoming rookie class and just finding prospects, like high-end prospects, maybe guys are being slept on a little bit. I guess there's going to be both of those in this receiver class. It looks like a loaded group. It kind of seems like the over-under for first-round wideouts is like 4.5, maybe even 5.5. I'm sitting here 3 weeks before the draft. Who are you most aggressively targeting in best ball drafts before they even have a real home? They're going to have a real home in 3 weeks, so not a whole lot of time left. But just who are you targeting regardless of where they land in the real draft?
I like Carnell Tate a lot. He's my favorite wide receiver in the class. I think what he did this past year at Ohio State was super impressive. 3.02 yards per route run, 2.89 yards per team attempt. He had a 30% dominator rating. And he's doing that playing alongside Jeremiah Smith. In his year two, like you look at like adjusted yards per team play, was like solid. It wasn't great, but it was kind of in line with like Malik Neighbors' year two. His breakout season wasn't as strong as Neighbors, and he's not Malik Neighbors, not as strong a prospect as that. But he is going to go very high in the draft as Neighbors did. And I think like the target competition at Ohio State's kind of hard to overstate. He came in with Marvin Harrison there when he was a freshman, and Emeka Egbuka. Then last year he was playing, or 2 years ago in his sophomore year, he's playing with Emeka Egbuka, doing enough to then go in the first round, and Jeremiah Smith breaking out as one of like the wide receiver prospects that we're going to have. And then Smith continued. I mean, Smith's going to go down as like the best wide receiver prospect since like Julio Jones or whatever. Like he's unbelievable. And Tate was very productive and very efficient alongside him. So I'm with Tate, there's like a little, he's not the fastest. He's not as big as people were thinking. He's not as big or fast as people were thinking.
Small, sound great so far.
He's like 192. I wouldn't say he's small. He's also fairly tall, but
I'm 192. All right.
It's a different 192. I'm
192.
I'm sorry to tell you. This guy's 6'2", 192.
He's a rocked up 192. I'm not rocked up.
But like, it doesn't seem to have affected his draft capital. And it's one of those things where, like, if he goes top 10 or top 15 with a 4.5 340, based on what we know about the draft, that's like kind of more bullish. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's bullish that he's not super fast, but we would tell us that the NFL would confirm that the NFL like really appreciates this guy as a true wide receiver, that he's going in the top 15, let's say, because he's a wide receiver. And Matt Harmon's write-up on him was very bullish as well, as a route runner. So I think you're getting just a super safe wide receiver prospect here that also has like a lot of upside. Now, safe from a fantasy point of view, maybe not entirely. Like, I think he could kind of be, like a fairly, like a wide receiver 3 in fantasy kind of thing, where like, I spent like a early pick on this guy and I'm not getting anything in dynasty that represents that.
Like,
but
Xavier Worthy, Matthew Golden outcome. I mean, those are.
I would say above like a Worthy, but something. I mean, like what Harrison has
even
done.
Worse, I think.
Yeah, Golden can't even get on the field. That's the type of stuff where I don't think that is very likely for him. I think he'll be out there running routes, but did I just spend the 102 in my Superflex draft on like a Romeo Dobbs level player? Like, that could happen, I think.
I mean, Rome Odunze, I think, is a perfect example.
Rome Odunze, that's a good one.
I do think Rome's good at football. Like, I just genuinely saw what he did. The first month of this past season, he was doing like alpha stuff. And then it kind of just dissipated. And I think some of that's his fault in that he isn't the most well-rounded player. And I think that's probably Carnell Tate as well. Carnell Tate isn't the Malik Neighbors. I can just secure 100 targets at less than a 10 ADOT because I'm always open. He is a little more of a specific intermediate deep player. And I think that's something that's plagued Rome too, is that he just isn't the 100% well-rounded profile. If he was, he'd be a wide receiver 1. And that's the difference between him and some other players. He can win deep. He's not the best short and intermediate player. And maybe that's true of Carnell Tate. And maybe that becomes a problem if he ends up with, say, the Browns, who maybe can't complete a deep pass to save their lives.
Well, I think he's pretty good intermediate. He's not a huge yak guy, but I think he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to rack up targets like a Jalen Waddle rookie year or a Malik Neighbors rookie year.
Chris Olave was one of his comps, and that one feels like pretty accurate.
He feels similar to Chris Olave to me. I didn't know if that was just like a Buckeye thing or what.
No, I think it's sort of Olave-esque, but he might be able, depending on where he lands, like he's somewhere on like the Olave.
Could he land opposite Olave?
Like CeeDee Lamb spectrum, I think. But like,
I think I mocked him opposite Olave both of my mock drafts so far. I believe. I know I did most recently.
Yeah,
that would be kind of funny if he went there. Yeah,
it's been feeling kind of Saints for him. Do you have like a dream, quote unquote, landing spot? I doubt you've really been spending a lot.
Put him on the Chiefs, man.
Yeah. I get the feeling at 9. I think the Chiefs' mindset is going to be we're never going to be back here in the top 10, God willing, and that we're going to use this on a truly premium position. Wide receiver is a premium position.
Pretty premium, dude.
I think they're going to edge rusher, a lineman, maybe a shutdown corner.
It's not a great offensive line class, right? So what are we?
The Chiefs, weirdly, though, they probably more so need a right tackle. They probably have Josh Simmons at left tackle. They more so need a right tackle. And it's a very good right tackle class as far as things are concerned. Yeah. So they could be doing right tackle at that 9 pick. I agree, though. I'm more likely looking at them at edge, probably. But to your point about needing a premium position, when like wide receiver is a top outside of quarterback is in the next tier. I think it's in the same.
It is in the next tier.
Edge tackle as edge and tackle. I hope they do too, especially because Tate fits what they need perfectly. What they try to do with Worthy is Rice is so good 8 yards downfield and less. He hasn't added a whole lot. He's really good, but he hasn't added a whole lot as a 15-yard chunk play air yards eater. Like, please let Carnell Tate do that for them. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I actually
think it would make Worthy better in a way. I mean, not for fantasy really, but like you could just be like, listen,
nothing will make
Xavier,
him better in fantasy. Yeah,
correct.
Xavier,
But let him be
keep the Gatorade guy close to you because you're gonna be running a lot of wind sprints today.
But yeah, let him do that though. Let him be a speed 3 instead of like we almost need an intermediate wide receiver
Right.
1B. Let him just be a
True.
third receiver who every 3 weeks has an awesome play. Let him be the best version of Rashid Shaheed, the Saints version of Rashid Shaheed, as opposed to try and make him more than that. So it would be an awesome setup. I hope, like Pat said, it's the dream setup. It's a bit of a dream in my opinion, but
I feel like
what I like to think about.
Kerrane mentioned the pure pass, the James White running back being phased out of the game. I feel like the speed 3 has been phased out too. Used to be a very common archetype. Like number 3 receiver, he doesn't do a whole lot other than being super fast, and that actually works a lot more often than you think. And like it just feel like the one-dimensional true speed guy is not in favor right now in the NFL.
Trey Tucker would like a word. Who's who was the Chargers guy? He was the kind of the quintessential version of this to me. With Herbert, but like before they drafted Quentin Johnson, I think he's just like
it wasn't Taylor Gabriel, was it? He was in
no.
No,
man.
He like started ahead of Josh Palmer, and he was just out there all
I
the
had
time.
him on my dynasty team, and I can't picture.
And like occasionally, like once a year, he'd catch a cool touchdown. He'd like actually get behind the defense. Maybe twice a year.
2022 Chargers Pro Football Reference. Patrick Kerrane, the player he's talking about, folks, is keep scrolling. Jalen Guyton.
Jalen Guyton.
Yeah.
Jalen Guyton.
I have a better one than this because he's who I was thinking of. Travis Benjamin was the Jalen Guyton before.
Yeah,
Jalen
Travis.
Guyton.
He was a Jalen Guyton. That's right.
And I believe Travis Benjamin played on the Browns twice.
Travis Benjamin was like he kind of sometimes would like move a little bit too good to be Jalen Guyton. Like he'd be too involved.
Yes.
And they'd have to talk to him and be like, "Hey, man, you're just supposed to run deep routes."
John Ross is what killed the speed 3, even though he was drafted to be a wide receiver 1. He killed the very concept of the speed.
Well, I'm surprised to hear you say that it's completely dead.
It's like it's dying. It's dying. It's dying.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but a speed 3 was just signed to an average annual salary of $28.5 million a year.
That's true. That's true.
No,
he's a speed 2. He's a Deshaun Jackson 2. He's a D-Jax 2. He's not a speed 3.
I don't know.
He's a D-Jax 2.
If they play Josh Downs, then he's a speed 3. It depends. It literally just depends if Josh Downs is on the field because Warren's the one.
Well, Pat, I have bad news for you. As someone who's been drafting Josh Downs for years, I have bad news about if they play Josh Downs more.
Hitman.
No, I just mean when they play Josh Downs on that play, Pierce is now a speed 3.
He's a speed 3. Man, he should have been a D-Jax 2 for either the Chiefs or the Bills. That's quite the shame. I had some other thoughts. I don't know if DJ Moore was available, man. That's right.
Second round pick.
That's right.
You gotta do it.
You can.
All he had to do was guarantee his money in 2028.
So, by the way, the Odunze thing is so dead, man. Like as Kyle said, they actually tried to do it at the beginning of the year. Then they just stopped, even though DJ Moore basically retired mid-season. Like the Odunze thing is over. It's over.
I think, I'm not a big believer at this point, but I would say like the Odunze from a dynasty perspective to kind of circle back to Tate, that you get a guy who was a 5th round pick in best ball drafts last year and is like a 6th or 7th round pick now. Like you probably I expect Tate to establish himself quickly as a starter and remain a starter for his rookie deal, probably get a second contract, even if he's not re-signed by the team that drafted him. And just like if you feel it that he busted, it's probably going to be like, this guy's so boring, he just doesn't score enough fantasy points. But like, I also think there is real upside here for him to be like a number 1 / downfield target in the mold of a Chris Olave. Like Chris Olave is kind of the primary guy challenging defenses deep, but he's also the number 1 target. And I think Tate could operate the same way. And so it's a range of outcomes that I find attractive at a 5th round price. Mekhi Lemon, though, I do like, who's fallen a little bit in the 6th. And then I do also take Jordan Tyson, who's now falling sometimes in the 7th. He strikes me as a bit more of a boom bust bet, where like if Tyson was just like, it didn't really work. He's kind of like his route running is a little bit extravagant, I think, from what I hear. It's not the most efficient
Look, if he's a Jalen Reagor, he's a Jalen Reagor. These things.
You never
Right.
want your route running described as extravagant. That's about the worst possible word. I feel like you could have.
It's gaudy. It's garish.
It's a little gaudy. It's garish.
You would
yeah.
rather have undercooked than extravagant. Like, you do not want to be an extravagant route.
But I think if it like he could be awesome too. So I think he's just kind of more of that classic boom bust wide receiver bet. And the longer I do this, especially for Dynasty, is like I do like to learn more. Like I like to see the guy play in the NFL and then have his price go up, even if I wasn't impressed. Like that's like a really nice thing to have. And so that's where I think Tate and Lemon are just probably a little bit of better bets for that to happen, because it's kind of very clear to me like what roles they fit in the NFL. And I think it'll be clear to the teams that draft them as well.
Pat, I know you haven't released your wide receiver tiers yet, your rookie wide receiver.
I'm working on them. They should be out in the next day or two.
So I figured you were working on it. So I didn't know if it's too early.
That's me, because I'm working on mine too, and I'm like, so I just put out tight ends.
That's good to know. Do you have a favorite receiver prospect who's unlikely to go in the first round, not expected to go in the first round, or is it too early to ask you that?
No, I think so. The cheating answer would be to say Casey Concepcion, who I really like, but I think he might go in the first round. And to have that knee scope though, so maybe he slips to the early second. But I think he is very live to go in round one. The guy that I would say I like, that I think really has no chance of going in round one, and I like him as like my favorite of a big tier that I think are all kind of dart throws, but like dart throws I'm happy to get to make, especially in best ball where these guys are all going in like, let's say around 17 to the end of the draft. So really kind of for free. But my favorite of the group is probably Chris Brazzell, who I just pulled in his comps for the article, and they're hilarious. Like they fully sum up kind of what I think I feel about him. So his top comp was DJ Chark. Not bad, right? Bad rookie season, did break out.
That's a really good comp, both from like what you should expect from these boom bust players. Like DJ Chark had some good years. He might have still been a bust. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with this. But
It is hard to say.
It's an accurate description of how some of these guys pan out.
Yeah, was that good or bad? I'm not 100% sure.
I still don't know.
It's better than Denzel Mims, his second comp.
Wow.
It's a heck of a lot better than Jalen Polk, his third comp.
Oh my god!
But then we get Christian Watson as the fourth comp.
All right, now we're talking.
It's just a straight up hit. So, and it gives you a sense of generally what he's going to be. He's either going to get cut after his rookie year, or he's going to be like a kind of a big fast guy who can't really play receiver like Denzel Mims, or he's going to be like an outside wide receiver who's like there to stretch the field. And then the big question is like, how much target earning does he actually have, like Christian Watson, or is he probably more of a kind of flash in the pan kind of fun player for a second, but can't sustain the success like Chark? But I think he, the other funny thing about him is he's one of these Tennessee guys. And so,
yes,
I think as a community, we're getting a little sick of it and we don't really want to buy in. But, he's pure out wide, pure downfield stuff. But I kind of believe, like, I think he could be the one who actually pulls it off in a way that, especially again, for free in best ball, I think he could pay off and like be a starting wide receiver, go in the second round, become a starting wide receiver by the end of the season, and deliver in kind of a splash play type of way.
What's really funny is we asked Connor Rogers a very similar question to this on Tuesday, and his exact answer was Chris Brazzell.
Awesome.
Yeah, so great minds, very much thinking alike there. Chris Brazzell the second, by the way. I haven't really been adding the second. I don't know if that's something we do. But Chris Brazzell the second from the University of Tennessee, not a real offense. Even in the SEC, it's barely a real offense. Somebody like, well, it doesn't need to be a real offense. It's college. It's not even real enough for college.
Yeah, no, I know.
Neither here nor there. Yeah.
Yeah, wide range of outcomes with old Chris Brazzell the second.
Fun fact on Chris Brazzell. He played at least PFF has him charted as playing 714 snaps at wide receiver, lined up out wide last year. Would anyone like to guess how many of those, 714, how many of those were played on the left side? As everyone knows, Tennessee has these very specific roles where you really just do one thing. How many of them were played on the left side?
714.
You are so close. You have it backwards. He played 7-13 on the right.
He was on the right side, you dummy.
He played one single snap on the left side wide receiver. Not like these guys can learn to do new things, but it's going to be weird for him. You're going to see him hold up his left hand. He'll see the L because left hand L, and he'll be like, oh, that's where the ball is going to come from. I cannot do it with these stupid Tennessee wide receivers.
No,
it's such a Mickey Mouse offense. And you know what? I am going to do it again. I think Browse is a good prospect, and I'm going to get fooled again. But I already have on the wall a spot for my Fell For It Again award.
No, me too. Yeah, I'm doing it, and I'm telling other people about how I'm doing it. But I also plan for it not really to work. But I think his draft capital also looks fairly locked in. Like he's been in that second round mix. We've seen some guys shuffle. We've seen like guys have their moments in the sun and then they've fallen off. Like at one point, like Zachariah Branch was kind of projected to be on like the first round bubble on mock draft database. He's now at 68. Malachi Fields was like the talk of the Senior Bowl for a second, and he's the third round pick now. Like there's Bryce Lance has been kind of rising up the board. Maybe that sustains, but we've seen, these guys kind of move up and down. Brazel, I feel like I would actually like to see this charted if someone could somehow pull this. Like I swear he's been at like 51 or 50 to like 53 for like a month. Like just so it seems that there's some sustained interest in him where there's never been first round buzz. I would be pretty surprised if he were to fall even around 3. If he falls to round 3, I would be surprised, and I'd be pretty shocked if he fell out of day 2. So with a pretty deep kind of day 2 class of receivers, I don't want to put my chips on a one who falls to day 3, and I think he's fairly safe not to do that.
That's a really good point. Just take the guy who's quote unquote guaranteed to be day 2. At running back, there's far and away an RB1, Jeremiyah Love, and in the real draft and offseason best ball drafts, undoubtedly, and rookie redrafts. But is there a rookie running back relative to ADP you like drafting more than Jeremiyah Love, where you feel like maybe you're getting more bang for your buck? In best ball right now, does that player exist, or is the answer still just to take Jeremiyah Love? Again, I know this isn't an either or, but if you're passing up, are you passing up the unknown rookie in Jeremiyah Love in favor of someone else just because you like their ADP so much?
No. No, this class is Jeremiyah Love. Like he's the guy. I think the funny thing is, if you were to try to make this argument, to me, the best ball prices and really dynasty too, the answer would probably be Jadarian Price. And at that point, you're like, I'm saying the guy who was backing up Love is a better bet at cost. Like this seems bad and wrong. Like Love is not so expensive. He's in the early to mid second round of drafts. I think that's totally fine. It's definitely, we're pricing in some of the upside for sure. But I think if he goes to the Commanders, he will move up from there. If he goes to the Titans, he'll probably maybe move down a spot or 2. If he goes to the Giants, then we'll be bummed out as a community. Because there'll be some split with Scadaboo kind of priced in there. But I would
Scadaboo over if that happens.
I would bet on Scadaboo over, but I think he'd probably fall to like the 3rd because there'd be enough worries about how much of the split there is. But I would be taking him there, I think. So anyway, the range of outcomes as far as post draft, I think is like reasonable enough for him in the second round, and I want to bet on him as a player. So I don't like take him nonstop in the second round, but I do take him. And after him, it is thin, man. Like Price, I have some hope for. I do have some interest in him. I think he's a good pick, especially if you kind of have like a David Montgomery and a DeAndre Swift or something, and then you're like, I need some hope and joy in this backfield. Like Jadarian Price is really fun, but like I liked Jonah Coleman a lot, and I was listening to Mina Kimes had Nate Tice and Danny Kelly on, and they were all pretty big Jonah Coleman fans, but the consensus was like, man, this guy is slow, and that he probably falls to day 3. And this was like people who like the guy. So I'm like, I thought Coleman was live to go round 2 when I was like first digging into this. That does not seem realistic. I think he'd be lucky to go round 3 at this point. And the fact that it's such a thin running back class, if he does fall to round 4, I think that would be telling. Like, where would he have been in last year's class? Is this like a 6th round pick in the 2025 class? If he's a 4th round pick in this one, it makes you think. So he's at 90 right now. I'd probably take the higher. I think he probably goes later than that. At this point, he didn't work out. There was some discussion maybe that was like related to health, but
the condition known as being slow.
A condition known as being slow is I think potentially contributing, and I think he just needed to show like, hey, I'm running the 4.6s, but I'm not sure he does, and I'm not sure he was sure he would. So, I think that probably contributed. At the same time, Coleman is huge. He can catch passes. He can do kind of dirty work type stuff. So he's the guy that, like, post draft, my hope is that Coleman goes like 3rd round and doesn't have like a clear cut path to starting, like a super, he's behind a starter. I think
it's the Cam Scatterbo bet from last year. It's not as fun. Like, Scatterbo is a better prospect.
I'm thinking more the Bucky bet from 2 years ago. Like, if you give me the Bucky, I want it cheaper than Scatterbo.
Yeah.
Right. Like a starter people think is established. And then we can bet on him to like take over work over the course of the season at a discount. That would be really fun. But I actually kind of stopped taking where he's currently going in like the early double-digit rounds.
Sad to see a man's dreams crushed. But
it is sad. I'm rooting for Jonah Coleman.
You got to see it on this show, folks. Like and subscribe.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You got to hear really great
stuff. He's still
stuff.
at 129, which is just a little.
Got to hear really great stuff on the rookie running backs and receivers. We're going to hear more when we come right back after this. With the NBA playoffs quickly approaching, teams are battling for postseason seeding on Sunday Night Basketball. Luka Doncic tips things off as he battles his former Mavericks team in Dallas. Then in the nightcap, see Kevin Durant and the Rockets face off with the Warriors. Coverage of the doubleheader begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Sunday Night Baseball, too. St. Louis Cardinals on Peacock this weekend against the Detroit Tigers. I don't care. I won't be watching. I don't watch every single Cardinals game, even though they're not good. I'll be watching the Cardinals on Peacock Sunday evening. If you're not watching basketball, check out baseball. Everyone watches football. Pat Kerrane. That includes the Raiders, who are always on TV since they're a legacy franchise.
Is this the pitch for baseball, by the way? Hey, if you got nothing else going on, maybe flip it.
I don't know if you heard the news. Denny is converted.
He's playing fantasy baseball. Is he converted?
He's converted.
Also, we'll see how long he's playing fantasy baseball.
Listen, he's going to play till April 17th. He always plays MLB DFS till about April 17th, I think. And this year he's added redraft to the mix.
I can't do fantasy. Like, fantasy baseball is crazy. You have to check your lineup so much. Like, fantasy baseball should come with a salary. Like, you.
Yeah, go off, King.
Like, great. No, this is great. I get how to play now. Now, like,
cut his mic.
What are the benefits? What's
the benefits are it's
the health package.
It's like a
401k.
It's like a 6-month chess game, and where you feel bad most of the time. And, those are the benefits of fantasy baseball. Fantasy baseball
with this fantasy baseball league. That's
the feeling in football when you get new numbers, how it's like Christmas morning. In baseball, you get that kind of every day. You get a new 15 games worth of stats every day. That's why I love it so much. But
Adam thinks Denny's coming back from vacation and quitting.
Yeah, no, that's 100% happening.
More or less correct. Yeah.
He's gonna have his son start managing his team the second he gets back from vacation.
Is this like a bonding experience, Dad? So we can do this together.
No. Sure, son. Whatever you say. Yeah.
Think of it more as a chore.
We talked some of the biggest names in the draft. We did not talk the biggest name in the draft. There's no drama. Fernando Mendoza is going number 1 overall to the Raiders. Pat, there is a little weirdness now that Kirk Cousins is 1 year, $20 million deal. I know that's technically longer than that. We're going to say it's a 1 year, $20 million deal.
Technically 5 years, $417 million. But
I would have had more respect for this signing if they had announced this on April Fool's, because I know people would have thought it was fake.
That's 100% true. Some of the money's being paid by the Falcons too. So anyway, Kirk Cousins could maybe start week 1. I still consider that probably unlikely with a number 1 overall pick. All I want to know, Pat, will Fernando Mendoza and Clint Kubiak save our Raiders in fantasy football? Because it was bleak for Brock Bowers, pretty bleak for Ashton Genty. Nothing got going for the role players. Like Trey Tucker really had a few moments in the sun, but can this new duo save our guys in fantasy football? Or is that going to be just too high expectations for their first year in Vegas?
Well, like, I don't think Cousins is unlikely to start week 1. I saw, former host of the show, Josh Norris, was putting out a little video on why he thinks that Cousins is the favorite, the clear favorite to start week 1. I think so it's a 5-year, $172 million contract, which is absurd, like truly absurd, because it isn't. It's a 1-year, $20 million deal, basically. But
apparently it's sort of a 2-year, $80 million contract too. It's like 3 different contracts in one.
He has a future. Yeah, it is a bunch of different types of contracts all rolled in one. I believe he has future guarantees that trigger early next year. So if they wanted to keep him around as a backup, like they could as an option.
Well, on Spotrac, he has a note that says $80 million of future salary becomes fully guaranteed in the 5th day of the 2027 league year, and then he just in parentheses writes poison pill.
Yeah, he'll get cut before this.
That's so it's basically like I think it's really structured for him to. But it's why make it 5 years? I don't know. The whole thing is strange from like an optics perspective of like, if you're definitely don't want him to start week 1, then why would you make it this type of like, you could have just signed him to a 1-year deal or 2-year deal with a poison pill. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to go 172.
I mean, they've been talking big game about even before like all the Mendoza stuff, they've been talking big game about like, we think it's good for a rookie to sit. Like,
they have been saying that.
So to your point, like the dots are pretty easy to connect. As gross as it is, like I don't want to see Kirk Cousins start football games over the exciting rookie. They've been talking about this type of stuff for a while, and as dumb as his contract is, even if you just called it 1 year, $20 million, that's a week 1 starting level contract for a lot of teams. So I think to your point, like it'd be weird to sign him if they weren't planning on starting him in week 1. I just think they might be. At least it's a coin flip.
I think it's their current plan. My general thinking with this type of stuff is that this is a bad plan. That you don't like when the Bears were like, we're gonna, Andy Dalton's gonna play forever, and like we don't even know if Fields will play all year. Like, yeah, okay, like Fields is gonna play. He played. I think he was in by week 2. Drake May, right? Remember, like they were gonna play Jacoby Brissett all season. It'll be totally cool. He sat for like 5 or 6 weeks, but it was inevitable. I think this is similar, where like it is inevitable that Fernando Mendoza is going to be starting, but I'm not sure that it's inevitable he starts week 1 or even the most likely outcome at this point. Like I think the Raiders probably expect Cousins to start week 1. They probably have some plan in place, blah, blah, blah. That plan, of course, is them being like 4-1 with Cousins. And then they're like, oh, maybe it's time. But I could see him sitting, for half the year, maybe 6 weeks anyway. I could see it. I think it's probably a lot more likely he sits like 2 or 3 games, but I don't know. I don't know why you would sign Cousins to this deal if you weren't kind of planning on that. And then the other thing I'd say on Mendoza is like, so the comps that he generated for me statistically were Sam Bradford, Justin Herbert, Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston, Dwayne Haskins, and Carson Wentz. He's not a great prospect as far as like number 1 picks go. He's the lowest one I have in my model. He came out just behind Cam Ward. I don't think he's like,
feels kind of real for him.
Bradford feels pretty real. And I think there's more, like he is, I think, on like the Bortles, Carson Wentz, Justin Herbert spectrum. Like he's like a big guy. He gets comped to Goff a lot. I don't think he's like that much of a point guard. Nate Tice is comped to Matt Ryan.
That Goff doesn't have. Like I think it's because he played very like system focused football in college, which is what Goff does right now.
Right.
But he has physical attributes that Goff doesn't have.
Well, he's a lot bigger than
he's
Goff.
like, I think he's
236. Tall, but Mendoza is
36.
Mendoza's a tank.
He's a tank.
Mendoza is a tank, man.
Yeah. The Matt Ryan comp, I think, is kind of interesting too that Nate Tice has thrown out. But my thing with him is like I think he's a little bit like more like a little kind of raw than like you're betting a little bit on like a kind of old school type of quarterback in a way that maybe maybe he would benefit. Like maybe this isn't as bad a plan as I normally think it is to at least have him be like 2 or 3 starts, go to Kirk Cousins. And that probably helps, at least gives like, it creates a floor for the Raiders here. Where like, let's say Mendoza is not ready. Well, now Kirk Cousins will start, and that gives you at least some floor for the beginning of the season. At some point in the season, you will see Fernando Mendoza, even if he really wasn't ready. And so the floor, when you think about late season, could be kind of low. But there were outcomes where Mendoza just stinks, right? He can't make the leap. We see this. We're surprised by quarterback busts very frequently. It happens. There's some percent of the time where it's just like, well, Mendoza's not it. And yesterday, that was going to affect Brock Bowers' entire season, Ashton Genty's entire season, and at least now it would really only affect like half their season. So I think the Cousins signing, it does improve the outlook a little bit. It just kind of keeps like it's somewhat unlikely, but worst case scenarios at bay a bit.
Well, I would say it improves their outlook too, where I think the Cousins signing, if nothing else, it guarantees he will have to actually earn the job, Mendoza, where you allowed him to sham earning the job in the summer. I think now
Cousins can lose it in the season, but in the summer, I agree with you.
I think if Mendoza is named the week 1 starter, it'll be because he actually did kind of earn the job. And
I think you're right. Yeah,
truly impressed.
Yeah.
They were like, wow, okay, he actually is ready.
Like the Panthers could have maybe used a steeper roadblock for Bryce Young's rookie season.
Yes.
Like that just would have benefited the other players around them more. And this is what the Raiders are doing, is putting it's only a speed bump, right? But it might be a speed bump. Could be passed in August, could be passed in September, maybe even October. But it's one that maybe benefits the rest of the players in the situation.
We're running a little low on time, but Pat's got to help me preview my article is coming out next week. I gave him a sneak peek. Coach rankings dropping hopefully on Tuesday. Don't hold me. That might be Wednesday. But what is burning a hole in your pocket? What question after the rough draft of the article?
I kind of want to get like a mashup pod with you and Dan Hansis so that you guys can debate Nick Sirianni, because he's the one that when I saw where you have him ranked, I checked the date. I made sure it wasn't still April Fool's. I was surprised. The framing I would say to you on him compared to some of the guys behind him was, if this coach were to be fired today,
I know
and this other coach, let's just say, like 7 spots behind him or whatever, behind him would also be fired. Like, which one of these guys is getting instantly hired? And which one is our team's kind of leaving and are fairly uninterested in becoming their new head coach?
Do you want to preview the ranks? I believe Sirianni was just inside the top 10. If you don't,
I've been 9. By the way, this actually could change. I do change the order right up until I publish, but the rough draft version has Sirianni 9, LaFleur 10, D'Amico Ryans 11, Kevin O'Connell 12, which feels painfully low for Kevin O'Connell.
Like, I think Kevin O'Connell would get hired instantly.
Here's what I'll say.
Sirianni.
I believe you're right on that, but here's what I've learned over 10 or 12 years of doing this now. You do just have to assume a pretty high degree of humility. We're like, we all think we're right about Nick Sirianni, that the Eagles are the rare team where they're more like an MLB team, where it's the front office calling all the shots. Like, the reason the Eagles have had the success is because of Howie Roseman in the front office. Sirianni's just a button pusher. It has nothing to do with him. I think I probably more agree with that than disagree with that statement. But you just can't say that for sure. You have to assume some degree of humility. For the guy who's won 70% of his games in 5 years as Eagles head coach. And like, pretty quickly you're like, you see like, well, I can't put LaFleur ahead of him for obvious reasons. And like, I want to put
I'd have LaFleur ahead of him.
Kevin O'Connell
has
been 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings. How many playoff games have the Minnesota Vikings won in that time? How many playoff games?
Certainly they didn't have a Super Bowl winning quarterback the very next year on their roster last year. That wouldn't be the case, would it?
I know. And
I mean, they won 14 games and then they made the playoffs. And
Kevin O'Connell's such a good coach. Quarterback whisperer. The first round quarterback he gets instantly flops. Curious. Interesting.
I mean,
I know.
JJ McCarthy. I would love to see JJ McCarthy in a Nick Sirianni offense. I'm sure that would look awesome.
What did he achieve with Kirk Cousins, who has since gone on to garner a pair of $200 million contracts? Two times he's been signed to $170+ million in the past 3 years.
I think Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen would get hired 3 times before Nick Sirianni.
I totally agree. Totally agree on that, but I just don't know if it would be right or not. I would hire them before, but I am open to the possibility that I would just be focused on the wrong things with Sirianni, that I overrated 1 year of success. I'm basically the biggest Ben
I would
Johnson.
hire Sean McDermott before Nick Sirianni.
I'm basically the biggest Ben Johnson booster there is. I've learned the hard way many times in the past.
No longer true. After
1 year,
published.
After 1 year, you just cannot put someone in the top 10. You just cannot do it.
Pat, I'm actually more or less aligned with you on Sirianni. We're like, oh, this guy who wins all of his football games, goes to the Super Bowl every year, actually isn't that good. It's a little hard for me. Putting him at 9 compared to his success is way lower than his team's success. So I'm on board with this one with you. I actually think you got to just kind of reward him for being really.
You just have to assume I don't think this is I don't think he's actually this great, but I don't know everything, and I can't just ignore the games do matter. Results.
Yes, but it just to me it just feels like way too. I mean, okay, so we know that the guys he's had have been hired away, like Steichen, who's clearly a better coach than Sirianni. Give me Steichen all day over Sirianni. He was one of the guys who had the success, and then he left, and then they stink, and they hire Sirianni's buddy, and it doesn't work, and then they bring in Kellen Moore, who gets hired as a head coach.
But also,
who also might be better than Sirianni.
He has to get credit for hiring Steichen.
Sure
Exactly. Hiring Kellen Moore.
Is this a dangerous game?
I don't know. Does
deciding
he?
This
of course
is for sure
he
real.
He's rolled to hire the guys.
It's a dangerous game to assume this is for sure real. This is for sure.
Because every time Patullo comes in, Patullo's a disaster, and then
of course every other year
you're losing a coordinator every year. Not every hire can be good.
But he's an offensive guy. This is like the Harbaugh thing at the end of his tenure there. It's well, he's really a special teams coordinator. It's well, he's kind of also the defensive guy, and the defense keeps stinking anytime they lose a bright. It's bright defensive mind. They're great. He's gone. Defense is bad. Let's bring another.
How do they keep finding all these bright defensive minds? They just grow on. They grow on.
Well, for Harbaugh, because he just calls his brother.
Calling his brother.
Yeah. I know he wrote his phone number. It's a good attribute for this guy.
So I don't know.
Pat, what I'll say too.
Judging coaches on how good of coaches their brothers are.
I'll say this too.
What are we doing,
Pat? I'll say this. Sirianni is the hardest guy to rank every single year. He's that guy right now where I have no clue. I think everywhere I put him feels wrong. You can't put him. He's won 70% of his games. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. You cannot put him outside the top 10. It just doesn't.
I would put him at 32 and move him up. You're talking about who you can't put him behind. I'd put him. I'd go. Is Aaron Glenn better?
From the bottom and work up.
No. And okay, you passed Aaron Glenn. I would make him do the work. You're making yourself do the work. But I put it I don't know if I can move him behind. He shouldn't be moving behind ever. He should be at 32, and he has to earn everything he gets.
It's a tough one. Sirianni.
Can we lob one more complaint? Because Pat briefly mentioned this. Ben Johnson, your guy outside of the top dozen, and you don't rank the incoming new hires because we have seen them. We haven't seen them in situations. So there's not 32 coaches you ranked. You ranked 24. How many new? We have
22. There's 2 new coaches.
Oh my lord!
22 veteran coaches.
You only ranked 22 coaches. And
I do think that's genius that you do that because it would be way too hard. And it also kind of makes it interesting at the end to get to the...
Among the established coaches, you rank Ben Johnson as a below average coach.
Well, I just ranked him as an inexperienced coach. And is this a deep...
Take
coaching
coaching
is so good right now. Coaching is so good right now.
Yeah.
Give me him over the fake whisperers.
The strongest top 10 in
LaFleur's
years.
a fake whisperer. O'Connell's a fake whisperer. Give me the truth whisperer in Ben Johnson over these old school fake whispers. I'd have Ben Johnson at least right behind our guy Nick Sirianni.
Ben Johnson, let's be clear, he's way better coach than Matt LaFleur, but I had to rank Matt LaFleur ahead of him because track record.
You didn't.
Track record does matter. That's one lesson you learn over and over and over and over again doing these rankings. Definitely shouldn't overreact to 1 year. You learn it over and over and over and over again. I'll say
that's fair, but I just feel like the pattern with Sirianni is just it's pretty clear at this point. And
it is 11 wins, playoffs every year, pretty clear pattern. I can't believe I'm being forced.
Oh my god! Are you calling last year's Eagles team? Because the thing is, okay, It is a real what would you say you do here with Nick Sirianni, because we know he doesn't build the roster. He's got the best GM in the game, right? So
he's an
not
old
really
school
doing
rah leader head coach.
Yeah, he installs that crappy attitude that all of them have.
Yeah, and they
the
win.
locker room is toxic.
They hate life and they win. They hate life.
True.
locker
It
room
works.
is so
Do you think
toxic.
anyone
It works.
Pat, do you think anyone enjoyed their time playing for Bill Belichick? Of course they didn't. They hated every moment of their lives, and they won game after game.
This is not the Belichick Patriots, Kyle. What
Tell
are you
you who
talking
loves
about?
life.
For the past 3 years.
That Taylor's
They won
Bengals
one of them.
players, they all love life. Actually, no, they hate life.
God, you win one Super Bowl and you're Belichick. Give me a break. They had the rabbit that they brought in that was kind of a shot at Patullo.
Everyone
and
hated it. They felt embarrassed, and they played their butts off the very next week. I don't know.
No,
No, they were bad. They removed it from the locker room the following week.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. The culture stinks. The quarterback's melting down. You're not clearly not quarterback whisperer. They're gonna have to trade AJ Brown because they can't keep the band together. That's probably Sirianni's responsibility. He's fumbled that. He's not the offensive mind. Anytime he doesn't have a guy who gets hired immediately as a head coach, the offense is boring as hell, and he's not a defensive guy. So what would you say you do here?
He's a tough one to rank. That's all.
Is he just a people person?
He's a people person, and the results have to mean something.
But it's your list. I don't feel stupid.
We're gonna talk about a lot more next week. We're gonna talk about a lot more next week. We ran out of time, but Pat, to get us out, who are some of the names that might be considered for the legendary running back this year?
So the legendary.
You don't have to reveal it actually if you don't want to.
No, I haven't done it yet, so I can't reveal it.
Yeah, I know. You're probably not even close to doing it yet.
Yeah, it's an article I put out towards the end of the summer.
It's like July that you're doing.
It's like a July-August article. I probably should put it out in July. I usually put it out in August. But I look at the running backs in the top 2 rounds and the guys who can put together these true league-winning seasons, like 23 plus PPR points per game. And one of the things that's really, really helpful is to catch passes. And that's why, Christian McCaffrey just is coming off one of these seasons last year, 24.5. McCaffrey's done it repeatedly. He's another great candidate to do it again. Bijan Robinson got really close to 22 points per game. Jahmyr Gibbs was right there at 21.7. Last year I was taking Gibbs over Bijan because I thought he had a little more upside, and then they scored like the exact same amount of points. So, but I think both, the guys going at the top are all like the right archetype. Even Jonathan Taylor, who's not like a quintessential guy, he is such an explosive runner that I think, he can get there too. So right now I don't have like really any quibbles with the running backs going in the first round. I think what we're going to see is the shift. Maybe we might not see, but I think what we maybe should see is a shift once we get from best ball to redraft season with some of the running
camera, by the way.
Shifting my camera. Yeah. Went a little wonky there. What I think we might see is like some of these running backs that don't have legendary profiles at the kind of like the 1-2 turn. Like, I don't think James Cook has kind of the legendary profile, but I think he's a fine enough best ball pick. Just based on the way the landscape shakes out. But he's the type of player who I generally try to be a little more careful of, where you're not likely to have, like, you're kind of hoping for what we got last year, where we got 18 points per game. So it's not that like dominant season, and he could pretty easily fall a little bit below that and turn in like 15 points per game, which kind of hurts pretty bad when you're going up against teams that are getting a ton out of the running back position, and you had a chance maybe to draft elite receivers there. So I anticipate that in redraft, I'm going to really prioritize, like, if Justin Jefferson's still going at the end of the first, like, he will be a big smash for me there. The guy kind of in that second round or late first round, early second round range, there's probably 2 guys. Ashton Genty now kind of stands out as someone you're kind of betting on to make the leap. But if you just think about the upside there, he does catch passes. He had 55 receptions as a rookie. We generally see guys in year 2 add to their receptions in a way that we often project, but rarely materializes. But for year 2 guys, we do see a bit more of a leap on the receiving side of things. He's a workhorse runner. He's a tank. He bounces off contact. And as I said before, I think the floor in that offense is probably a little higher now. And so he could kind of hit the ground running as a pass catcher. Like, we're probably rooting for Cousins to start the beginning of the season and just like feed him underneath targets. So I think he could do it. It's a shame. It's a real shame what they've done to Devon Achane, because he's like the profile we want, but I have a hard time seeing how that offense is good enough to sustain a true legendary campaign. So I would go back to the Eagles and say Saquon Barkley at where he's going. I mean, he did it 2 years ago, almost. He was at like 22 2 years ago. But they're trying to do the young, offensive minds guy. Unfortunately, we just can't hire him as our head coach because Nick Sirianni's too good. We're gonna have to go let him run someone else's franchise. But if Mannion can kind of bring some creativity to this offense, which won't be hard if we're using last year as a baseline, then we could get back to Saquon Barkley, not just being the centerpiece of the run game, but bringing back some of that explosiveness that we had 2 years ago and lost last year. So I don't expect that he could run for like 2,000 yards again, which he did 2 years ago, but maybe he gets used a little bit more as a pass catcher, which we know he's capable of, and then we get some more of the big plays and the touchdowns we got 2 years ago.
Really, really good stuff. Really great analysis that will be coming out in 3 months. I asked you a little jump the gun there. What do you have on the site right now? Tell folks where to find you and what you've got going on right now.
Yeah, legendaryupside.com. You can check out the rookie profiles that you mentioned. I've got the running backs and the quarterbacks out. I'll have the wide receivers rolling out very soon. Next couple of days, I want to get the first one of those out. It's a pretty deep wide receiver class, so those are going to be fun ones to dive into. I'll be writing up the tight ends as well. And then I've got some articles coming out from Matt Irby. He's got a series. It's a dynasty series where he's looking at kind of dynasty buys and sells. He has a wide receiver buys article out, and we're going to be posting tomorrow morning another one of those. So check those out. And then rankings, best ball for Underdog, DraftKings, also have dynasty rankings over there. Check it out. Legendary Upside. We have dynamic rankings as well with a tool called the Sidekick. If you're like in the streets, I was joking with you guys that I need to kind of draft more teams. I've only done like 120 so far.
Slipping.
So I'll be drafting some this afternoon with the Sidekick.
Fatherhood has changed you. Legendary Upside's an essential read. Check it out if you have not done so already. That was Patrick Kerrane. I'm Patrick Daugherty. I was joined by Kyle Dvorchak today. Denny Carter back on Tuesday. Kyle back next week, both to the site and from vacation. So thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.